So one of the most anticipated films of the year is finally in theaters. I'm talking about Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. But you have to know more about the history of what goes into the film. And to do that, I'm talking with Julie O'Keefe, Osage wardrobe consultant. Good morning.
Good morning, Trevor. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? Very exciting time.
Terrific.
So tell us what Killers of the Flower Moon is about for people who don't know.
So, Killers of the Flower Moon is basically a story written by David Gran that tells of a time in our history for the Osage Nation called the Osage Reign of Terror, where we had a great amount of wealth that came to us from oil money and minerals under the ground, and were one of the wealthiest people at that time in the world. And so we had a lot of different type of people coming in and taking advantage of the situation of my people. And it involved literally everyone from the government all the way down for what happened to us.
And it's such an important story to tell because it's not told in American history. It's not told in the history books. I didn't learn about it growing up. What do you think this film can say for your people?
I think this film is going to talk about a subject matter that's still very hard for us to talk about today in our own culture with each other. There wasn't anyone that really wasn't affected or frightened by it. And, you know, this story of these poor women and what happened to them is heart-wrenching, but unfortunately it was heart-wrenching for, you know, many families. And this one happened to be so over the top. So I really think that, you know, the takeaway from this movie is a scene that I don't want to give away, but you see that we made it through all of these obstacles and all of this sadness and basically thrive and carry on our traditions today, even though that was definitely in jeopardy, you know, just through mentality of genocide.
And these women at the forefront in the film is a true star in the making performance from Lily Gladstone working alongside Leonardo DiCaprio, but the film is truly her film. What was it like working alongside her?
Lily is lovely Lily. So we, you know, every morning I would go into her trailer because there would be closed rehearsal and then really find out what her actions were, how she was using her body, and what she was going to be doing. And so, you know, within the script, it always says that it's one thing, but the way that we wear our blankets and our shawls and what you see in the movie are, it depends on the life event of what you're doing. So once I would understand if it was something that she was doing that she needed something of utility, or she was going into a meeting with her guardian, or, you know, going to a funeral, these pieces of clothing and the way that they're folded change. And so I made sure that she was comfortable and that she felt confident in what she was going out in. You know, she just absolutely would crush it every day.
She really does. And what was it like getting the call to come work on this film for Martin Scorsese?
You know, I didn't know anything about the movie business, so I almost said no, and I actually got a call from my chief, and he was like, "Are you going to do this?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm working on something else." And he was like, No, Julie, really." And I said, "You know, I don't know anything about the movie industry." And so I stepped into it. I got the call from Jacqueline West's office, and when I came in the first day into her studio, and I saw the level of research that she had done and the organization, because there's so many things that are being, you know, that's a time in 1920s when we're acclimating to a life that's being forced on us. And so I saw how she had organized the Osage people. Then I really understood that she got us. And, you know, that level of authenticity is a very high bar when it comes to Martin Scorsese. He requires that of all of his films. And there couldn't have been a better person to come in and to brilliantly tell our story.
And that's so important, like you said. I mean, the production design, the costumes, the makeup. You have to be so authentic in telling a story in history. Anyone can make films today and say, oh, this is today. But what was it like to just relive that time?
It was time travel every day into the 1920s, from the sets and the costume to all of the really incredible cars. And really setting down, because a lot of the materials were either produced from that time period, like the Pendleton blankets. Jacqueline had Pendleton run the exact stripes that were from that time period, and then used a color palette from the 1920s and had them dyed exactly like as those blankets would have been, because they have all that in their archives. And then really seeing like our wedding coats that you see in the movie, and really being, that's something that we don't use for wedding anymore, but we've kept that tradition for our traditional dances, and use it for something called passing of the drum now. But, we've been able to maintain all of our traditions using those materials in the clothing.
And we can't not mention Leonardo DiCaprio, Jesse Plemons, and Robert De Niro. What was it like working with them?
Since I was on the Osage clothing part of that, I wrapped a blanket around Leo a couple of times, but, he's lovely. Everyone on the set, it really, because they had included so much of our experts within the cultural department, it really felt like a community project. And everyone was so open. And I mean, at the very top, everyone and the actors so open and asking questions, because everyone in this project wanted to get the authenticity right. And we couldn't have asked for anything better than that.
And authenticity is the perfect word for it. Don't be alarmed by the 3.5 hour runtime. Every minute is worth it. You will be thinking of it forever. Thank you so much, Julie. Go see Killers of the Flower Moon in theaters now.
Thank you, Trevor.